Goldman Sachs has just raised their gold target to $2,900 an ounce by early 2025. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group has the No Fee for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver on qualifying rollovers. Call 888-869-9656 for a free investor guide today. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Call 888-869-9656. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment. We got a whole big batch of new Trump appointees, and the latest one just came over. Huckabee has taken over ambassador to Israel.
Former Governor Huckabee?
Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
He's been out of government for a long time. His
Yeah,
daughter is still in government. I think she's still governor of Arkansas.
she is. And she banned
So,
China from purchasing any land in Arkansas too as well.
hmm.
Not letting them buy up all that farm country.
So what do you think about Kristi Noem as being head of the HHS or
Well,
DHS?
hard to tell. Um, I come from a strong military law enforcement intelligence background.
Yeah, this is not a person who's ever had a security clearance.
Yeah, not at the levels that we shared, but she she definitely is someone, with common sense and, despite her errors and mistakes that she's done, and so forth, blow that over compared to the idiocracy of what the left has done over the last 4 to 8
Right,
years.
right.
You can't even notice it. Uh, she's a good player. She really is. She was the first one to endorse Trump, the first one, invited him over to South Dakota and so forth. So she was the first one to step out there and say, hey, you need to come back. And she did. And so I think that played a lot into her good graces with Trump. And when she was having all these other issues with him, when the news media was coming after her, especially about her book, uh, Trump, she pivoted away from Trump, which is a smart thing to do. It didn't look like Trump was drifting away from her. She pivoted away to draw attention away from him. Uh, but now that everything's come full forward around, I'm sure Trump always had in the back of his mind who his loyal people are,
Right.
and she certainly is one of them.
It's an administrative job, and a governor is an administrative job as well. So,
Yeah. Well, a good DHS secretary that knows how to pull strings and whip his directors or her directors in place, get it done. I want weekly progress to show that there's some movement, and I want monthly meetings between us all. Keep it short, keep it simple. Tell me what I want to hear. Show me the data that I need to see to prove it, and go back to work. That would be the ultimate DHS secretary, at least on my part, that conveys the president's wishes and the people that elected him because they want to see changes. And so when she took over governorship in South Dakota after being a congresswoman, she was effectively doing some changes. So that fits right into the priority of Trump's mission to see changes. And the generals that he had in there before, I never really liked those generals, even when I was in the Corps, even when I met Kelly and so forth. I was impressed on certain things, but I really wasn't impressed by every bit of it. Uh,
yeah,
and it clearly
seemed like
showed.
there was a system of mediocrity in place for a decade or more.
Yes, certainly was. And you can see that. I even remember meeting with Commandant Gray. Uh, he was good to the point where He got a lot of equipment, for the Marine Corps. 'Cause the Marine Corps was always the last to get everything. We were the first to get the new helmets, the new A2s, the Humvees. I mean, he was aggressive. So I really like that because he wanted it. He goes, we're the first in. We want the best stuff that we can, and he knew it. He got it. He was on that ground level of his platoon sergeants and all the Marines that are out there making this stuff happen. So that's the kind of mindset. But when those two generals went in, and I had my doubts in the beginning, very much so, and I was proven correct. But now I think when you got some clear-headed administrators that have had the experience in shifting an entire government like South Dakota, I mean, it is a state and does have a sizable amount of people, not like California, but she knew how to shift everything and build relationships and work and make it work and used her bully pulpit when she had to. So that's good. I do have my doubts, but I think on par with the quality and the experience of what this person is, I think that she would be a good pick at this time to see how it goes. So I like to see how she would address all the 17 intel agencies and how she would remove the FBI out of the intelligence sector of that, along working with DOJ. They're going to have to complement each other. They're going to have to work. Yes, the FBI since 9/11, because of the Patriot Act, has allowed them to become an intelligence agency. So their powers and their capabilities just expanded greatly. And so, while they work under the DOJ, they're still in that group. There needs to be some way to bring them back to a law enforcement function only that they were. I'm not saying they can't have intelligence capabilities or tools or whatever like that. It's important, especially security. And just like we've known when we had over the past 20 years, especially in the 80s, the two moles, the CIA mole and the FBI mole that we caught, um, that we have better checks and balances and so forth. But the sheer ability for them to have a capability of using intelligence tools and capabilities to the extent that they've been using, especially against the American people, that's a great concern, at least for me and everybody else. I mean, Dan Bongino said it, and Rush Limbaugh said it too as well, and so forth. And I remember back when the Patriot Act passed, I was telling everybody, give it 20 years and wait and see. We're here. We're here. Amazing. Really amazing. It was weaponized, and we knew it would. So we can't have a law enforcement agency that has an intelligence capability, so much so that the mere temptation of overreach, of aggressiveness towards opponents, and to be used as a lawfare agency against other opponents and other American citizens to silence them and hurt them, especially our whistleblowers. Uh, they can't have that capability. That should not happen. And because DOJ has that capability because of them, that makes it super dangerous, very dangerous, whoever's in the DOJ. So there needs to be a well thought out plan how the restructuring of the DOJ and the FBI are going to complement our government moving forward and how they should work and operate blind eyes and not a bias that's going in on every investigation, period.
Yeah, well, I saw this coming back when Obama was first elected, and there was this little article in, I think it was the Times, that said Obama has pledged to bring in 1,000 new young attorneys from elite schools to populate the DOJ. And I went, uh-oh. They're saying that this is a good thing. I had a bad feeling that this is a bad thing.
Yes, I remember that. And if Uh, you remember uh, this morning, uh, Trump's attorney came on television and basically warned the current administration, the current people that are embedded in all the agencies, especially during transition and especially afterwards, you better not slow us down. You better not get in the way. If we say we want this, we want you better do it because, like in the Tombstone movie, tell them hell's coming with them. I believe that Trump gave that warning over the weekend too as well. If you get in the way, we're going to remove you. And you think that you got your union to protect you, think again. The power of the president is absolute. He has
Right.
immunity. He'll put you on permanent parking lot duty in the far north 40 of somewhere, Greenland or something. Okay. So we have a new office in Greenland on the far end of the northeast island. Well, sir, that's geez, 11 months out of the year, it's nothing but dark, gray, and cold. Yeah, but we need you to make sure nobody enters that parking lot entrance right there. So you quit, retire, or you can go to Greenland, one or the other. So being able to shift these people out of these positions can happen, and they should. There needs to be an utter clean house of all the people that have been embedded from these Ivy League schools that have a way of not carrying out the orders of the president, especially when last term he was in, he had ordered the release of the State Department's information and so forth. It never got out. How come Mike Pompeo didn't whip these people and say, hey, the president gave an order and it's been 2 months now, and the public wants it. Judicial Watch wants it. A court ordered it. Yeah, we'll get around to it. You're fired or reassigned. Get somebody that can do it.
Right.
There needs to be an accountability, and there isn't an accountability anymore in this government. There isn't anything that is worth trusting because of what's happened. So we have to do a lot of undoing of the past. Seriously, a lot of undoing, especially Obama's era. Uh, he really brought in a lot of people that are embedded at these high echelons of government, and they need to be rooted out. They really do.
They've been there for 20 years now, too.
Yeah, and they'll stall the government. They will stall Trump. 4 years is going to go by like you know what in the wind, especially in the midterm elections. And they have to be preparing for that right now of what's going to happen 2 years from now. Because 1 year from now, you got to start your campaigning minimum. 1 year from now, today, you have to start your campaigning. And there has to be an aggressiveness to it. There has to be a plan in place because I can tell you with a slim margin that's going to happen in the House if the Republicans take it, which it appears that they will. They are going to be fighting for that House tooth and nail. And in the midterm, most of the money is going to go towards the House. They'll put some towards saving seats in the Senate for themselves, but they're going to be focused on the House, and they are going to go campaigning hard. They'll find out what their mistakes were. They'll adjust because the Democratic Party is like a chameleon. They change colors. So they will aggressively go out there and do it. Trump has to realize this. I'm sure he does. But the Republicans need to get on it and get it done, get the agenda done, start cleaning the government, and they have to start indicting people. They really do.
There's got to be some examples made.
There
Sorry,
has to be.
but
If you don't, they'll lose the 2026 midterms. And his last 2 years are toast, lame duck, and they'll start investigations on him and JD. JD will never become president. It'll be done. It's that fragile. You think you won now. This is a godsend for people. But if you don't start preparing, if you don't start cutting off the heads of these snakes instead of the tails, you hurt them. Big deal. They're still there, just like a lizard. Somebody comes after a lizard, their tail breaks off, and their tail's going like this, and the lizard goes that way, and the predator takes the tail. They're still alive. Why? Because they'll grow a new one. So you got to cut the head off. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
You have to abolish whoever has been destroying the government, connecting with it, all the way from the corporate people on down, law enforcement on down, government on down, politicians on down, and individuals, NGOs, and everything on down. There needs to be an example. There's
Yeah,
corruption
this is
everywhere.
different than in any other time in American history that I know about. It's because it's not just people seeking power within the structure of the United States. These are people deliberately trying to destroy the United States under the power, under the influence of China.
Right.
This is treason, and
Yeah, and they're infiltrated as much so as they're getting paid handsomely to do it too as well, at least the top people. And we know who a lot of these people are. We even know how their workers were in Mexico when all these illegals coming in from all over the world, and they were told what to do, what to say, who to talk to, who to contact, everything. Told to destroy their passports at the border, don't carry them with you. Uh, and they were literally throwing out their money. If you go to the border, you can see money all over the border. Uh, so there needs to be an example of this corruption that started, and these people were allowed to get away. Elon even posted that. Amazing. We have so many uh, billions of dollars, and the percentages of government contracts that are no bid contracts. I think it was close to 90% went to NGOs in no bid contracts working for the government. Wow. I think that's something very much to look into. And being that he posted it, I'm sure he has looked into it and he knows how to follow the money. He's clever enough to do that. He
yeah.
certainly is.
Well, in any case, what do you think of some of the other appointees of late?
I think Senator Rubio would be a good Secretary of State. I would hope that he would not fall into the category of image of himself, but really take on and rebrand the name of the United States image in people that we're a strong country. We mean what we say. We will be allies and friends with you if it's reciprocal and so forth. And keep it simple and use his whip in there for people that aren't getting things done, slowing things down, and have a good chief of staff that knows what he or she are doing that could keep him on schedule and keep things at what he said, orders from the president on time to where, sir, the president said 3 months ago that he wanted these things released, and we're not seeing anything. He needs to be aware of everything that he's coming into his schedule and not be bothered with everything else that are coming in that's non-consequential. So I think he's a good person to be able to handle that. He would be good certainly for Latin American countries and uniting a lot of I don't like to say word communities. I think that's a social word. But the Latin American communities, countries in line with President Trump on his last term. So that way we bring in more uh, Latin votes on the next time and convert them into the Republican Party and conservative way of life because most of them are conservative. They're very much conservative, but yet they vote Democrat. Why? That has to change, and we need to find that out. And I think Marco Rubio could be able to find that out. And I wish him the best. I think he would be a great pick for it, in my opinion, based on that alone. Can he handle Europe and Asia and so forth? Yeah, he can. He knows how to do it. I see the ability in his background and his knowledge of finding things out and absorbing it. And he's a good speaker now, better than he was 10 years ago for sure. He's quicker on the mind and he's more mature in his ways of being able to respond and not respond recklessly to where it could trip him up later on. So I have high hopes for him, and I wish him the best, and I think that's a good choice at this time.
One thing that really, really bothers me that doesn't get talked about much is this whole flying in of illegals. I started covering this. I was the first one really to cover it. There were flights that were coming into Harrisburg, Pennsylvania airport, and one guy figured it out and followed one of the buses with his camera going, and he was the first one to really break this story. And that was 8 years ago. They've been
Yeah.
doing it consistently for 8 years, and it rarely ever breaks into the MSM, into the mainstream media. That has been going on for a long time. I want to know who's behind that and to take them out legally in whatever way we can. That was nefarious and deliberate.
Yes, Trump mentioned that in his last speech about the First Amendment and so forth, the people getting in the way, and how the mainstream media wasn't covering the necessary information for the United States. And yes, by doing that, that's a national security failure right there. It's a deliberate national security breach. And importing people over on a plane to break into the country illegally, because I've seen the other videos of people in the airport showing them getting off planes that are being held in areas that only DHS people have access to. So that's saying a lot. And why are they in there? So yes, who gave the orders for that? Who are the ones responsible for it? Where did the money come from? Maybe it came from a government contract, went to an NGO, and that NGO under the government contract that had no bids was using that money to bring illegals back in. We know that the money that went into FEMA went to pay all these illegals on the street. And I see it as January 20th is their last day that all funding is cut off on all those cards that they get the free money from each and every month. It's going to be cut off. So if Trump has a way of reversing the money that's left in there on that day too as well, even better. They're going to be sweating. The only downside of that is there needs to be a campaign in place that you have no money, you have no hope, you have nothing. Your only hope is turn yourself in, call this number, or go here to any place of this, and we will pick you up and we will help you get back to your own country. That's the only way, because you can possibly unleash criminal activity, because when people are desperate, they'll kill you for a pack of cigarettes. I'm just saying that using cigarettes, but uh, when they're desperate, they'll break into houses, they'll do whatever they can. And these people come from countries that's commonplace over there.
Yeah, but the network, what I want to route out is the network that facilitated this and
Yes,
go way down in the tree too to be sure that you get a plentiful supply of whistleblowers so that we're sure we get to the top of that. And
yeah,
everybody that participated in that they've got to face charges of treason.
yes. I mean, there's a way of when you do investigations that you allow just as much as you need to know to be seen and understood of what's going on, to where as it progresses, people that are embedded in there begin to think, uh-oh, I better come, I better have a come to Jesus moment now, be a whistleblower, because if the longer I wait, when it inevitably comes to me, comes through my department, whatever, yeah, I'm going to be held responsible. There's a great chance that I will, even though I was just following orders.
Right. Right.
Trump even meant business on that too as well. He goes, even if you were following orders, doesn't matter. We're going to prosecute you. So back to what I said before, I think that after January 20th, you're going to see a plethora of whistleblowers come forward. That would be the smartest thing. And if I were Trump, I would come out with a good 2, 3 minute video again about whistleblowers. And he has to kind of mention in there how you're going to be safe, because our whistleblower laws don't really protect whistleblowers as they
Right.
should.
Right.
but he should offer them presidential immunity and help. That he can do, and just let everybody know this is your chance. This is like January 20th and 21st is your opportunity to go to church and have an altar call, go see a priest, whatever, and repent, you know, kind of that way. Just come clean
Right.
and you will be saved. So that alone would speak volumes because that'll put a spin on the MSN that will try to change the narrative and so forth. And you can see them doing everything they can with their propaganda to kind of block that or whatever. But Trump's message is on target, plain and simple. We have corruption in the government. You know it. I know it. The world knows it. MSM, fake news knows it. That's the reason why they're trying to deflect it. They are part of the problem too, as well. Come forward. Even if you work for them, come forward. Let us know who you work for in the government. Let us know who you work for the nonprofits, the big corporations, whatever. Come forward. I will protect you. I believe you would get quite a few people coming forward. You
That
really
that
will.
that Trump message was just breathtaking. I've never seen a presidential message so bam.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me back in September. It was either August, right, a few weeks after he was shot, because at he was speaking at a small rally place, and he was leaning on the podium, and you can tell the absolute disgust in his face that he was absolutely pissed off of Ergeron Merchant. What was going? He just it just kind of hit a crescendo on him, and he blew up. And he said, "They don't know what's coming. Oh, they don't know what's coming." I remember him saying that, and this was like even the audience, they weren't cheering. They were just like woo, they because they felt the energy. They needed to let him vent, because he was just leaning on there and he was red, pissed off red. And he said, "They don't know what's coming. It's done. I've had enough. Enough." And he went like that. I was, oh my gosh, man. And right then
Something
and there.
we've been waiting for decades.
Jeez. So now he did that video that he did, and when I watched it, I just sat back in my chair. I had to think for a few minutes after that. I had to hit replay again because I wanted to make sure it wasn't AI. Just it was like, did somebody put this up? But it was very, very
Strong. It was so
strong.
I was going, oh man, I think he's he's tipped him off a little too much. He should back that off. But you can't really question Trump because he talk about being in a catbird seat. He sees things that we can't possibly see.
Yeah, and I would agree. And that literally scared the living crap out of the leaders overseas. Um, Even the ones that are still holding ground, like the NATO Secretary General and a few parliamentary people in the UK and so forth. And good luck with you, pal. You're nobody. So he's sent the message to the people over here, but it reverberated all over the world because they know that if this president's going to be doing it to his own country, yeah, he's coming over here. Yeah, not a good idea. We better start learning to cooperate with Trump. Yeah, rightfully so.
Yep. Well, that said, is there anything else that you want to talk about on this particular subject of the new people coming in? I mean, I was very happy with the exception of Marco Rubio and Kristi Noem. I'm a little shaky on those, but after you've given your opinion on it, I think you're right. And well, I'm hopeful that Rubio is going to be what you and what Trump expects. And, it's Trump's decision, and so that's fine. But
Yeah, Rubio would be good in the sense because he speaks Spanish, conquistador in Spanish, so he understands all of it. So he could be a great envoy for the Central and Latin American countries and the Caribbean Latin countries to be able to unite it and make it stronger. He would also be a voice because we have a problem with Venezuela. So he would be a strong character in that part too as well, and definitely make an influence on people because you have an American that only speaks English that's going over there and needs a translator. This guy is going to be speaking right on par with what they understand. And so he'll drive that message home. So I think for the moment in time, along with that, that's a good point. It's going to be
plus, he's a younger guy too.
yes,
He's younger
and-
than other people who have held that position in the past. So,
yeah. But Christy Nome, again, I'm just using her experience and background, experience in Washington government, which she's had enough of, and then becoming the governor of her state, and learning how to run it, and had some great success, and stood tall against the regime that wanted to shut down her state and put face mask on and so forth. She just gave him the finger and told him to bug off. So that was good because she wasn't going to take away people's freedom. So she has a character strong enough to be able to stand up. So based on her management skills alone, she needs to have the right team in place under her and the OD&I director too as well that's capable of working hand in hand with her in order to set straight everything and weed out all these operatives that are in those agencies and clean house, literally. I just hope that they're able to find the strong people there to do it and clean house and make it happen. There you go. Plain and simple. And remove uh, the intelligence part of the FBI and put them back into a law enforcement mode and clean house on the DOJ on that part because DOJ would have access to all those agencies because of the FBI. So there needs to be a wall. There needs to be a separation from that. We need to go back to where it was.
my sense is that the FBI will be easier to clean out. That there's a larger core cadre of people who have been doing things right all
Hmm.
along. When DOJ, I don't think that's the case. I think there's a lot more people who are a lot more complicit.
Yeah, but there's ways on finding out who these people are and doing it. Take a bit of time, but it can be done. There's ways. I'm not going to say here, but there's ways on being able to find out those people. And once you start setting an example, one or two of them, guess what?
Right.
It just starts from there. But it just has to be done the right way and the right person to be able to do the job and that job only. And once they do it, watch what happens. You're going to have a better government.
Well, they've opened a website for folks like you who might be seeking a job in government, and you might want to take a look at that.
I just want to know how much I get paid first. So if,
You spent enough time working your ass off in the dregs of paydom world.
oh yeah, yeah. So if the money's there and other factors I will mention that are there, maybe, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
got other things
This is
to
the
do.
first time that I've heard of it since you mentioned it, but yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of good
I'll
people out
send
there.
you a link.
Okay. Well, other than that, before I forget, I'll tell all your listeners to like and subscribe to Bill. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, like and subscribe and comment. Actually,
And
comments are
comment
have been
and
moved up
and
the.
if you dare share to share his video too by clicking the share button, that would be awesome too as well. Let's get his channel back up where it needs to be into the AI engine on YouTube. So great job, Bill, what you're doing. Both you and Beth, what you've been doing too as well. Fantastic.
Well, thank you. It's a hard slog, but at least now there's some sort of a hill, a mountable hill in front of us now instead of a nothing wall.
I think everybody's glad to be out of the tunnel because you see that little dot at the end of it. You just don't know how far it is, but now you're at the end of it and you're out of the tunnel and you see light out here. So it
Right.
gives everybody hope.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody has been wanting for a very long time, but it's short-lived. You just can't live off of hope after that. You have to get into action and start preparing for the next midterms and the next presidential thing. In the meantime, you have a lot of work to do. So the game plan has to be in, and the game plan has to be correct enough to where you can't allow the MSM to destroy you along the way with bureaucrats delaying you along the way. Those are two things you got to attack and get to the bottom of.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Bill. Take care, brother.